What's up, guys? So today I'm going to be planting garlic. That's Marble, our cat. But anyway, today I'm going to be planting garlic as well as elephant garlic. I have a few different kinds of garlic. These are all going to be soft neck varieties. I'm not planting my hard neck varieties today. I have them in my refrigerator. I'm going to leave them in there for about 3 months because we are in South Carolina zone 8B, and you really want to grow soft neck varieties as far as putting them straight into the ground. Hard neck varieties are more grown for up north where it gets colder, and so they can plant them in like November and get hard freezes enough to produce a bulb next fall or next spring and summer. But here in South Carolina, it doesn't get super cold, and so the hardneck varieties really do need more consistent colder weather. And so a trick is to put them in the refrigerator for a certain amount of time and then plant them out, and it should trick the bulbs in order to plant them. And so that's what I'm doing. I did that last year, but I only left them in the refrigerator for about a month, and I don't know if that was really enough time because I didn't get to really harvest much garlic. My dogs dug up my garlic about 3 times, and so I didn't really have a really good harvest on garlic. But we do have this fence now this year, and so dogs haven't been getting in my garden this year. So I'm very looking forward to uh, growing both hardneck and soft neck variety of garlic and seeing how it does. I did save the biggest cloves of my garlic last year, as well as pick up some new varieties. So this first area of garlic right here are garlic that just turned into one clove, and they started sprouting, and so I figured I'll just put them in the ground and see what happens. But this is all of the garlic that I grew last year, and then I saved the biggest cloves from. And so I don't know all of the varieties, but these are all of the seed garlic that I grew last year. You can see some of them have started to sprout, but I'll be planting this seed garlic from garlic I grew last year. And this container is all garlic that I picked up this year. So I don't know how to pronounce some of this, but this is a rose garlic. So it might actually be this garlic because I did get some of the same varieties. This Italian late. This one, that does have like a purplish hue as well. And I know I bought that last year, so it could definitely be one of these garlics. Then I got early purple Italian and silver rose. I already went through and broke up the bulbs or the heads of garlic into individual bulbs and kept the largest ones. And then I just used the garlic that I grew that were smaller heads or smaller bulbs, as well as some of the bulbs that I got from here that were smaller. I went ahead and used those to make fermented honey garlic with that. And so I just saved the biggest cloves. There were two varieties of garlic that I got confused, and so one of them is definitely not in the right container, but for the most part, I did keep them all separate. Then I didn't have a bag for this one, but this one is also a soft neck Transylvanian, and then another one over here, California white. Then this is all of my elephant garlic. I ordered a pound of elephant garlic. And in here, Taquisha from Our Freedom Song, she went to Whole Food and got some big cloves of soft neck garlic, and I asked her to pick me up 3, and I just went ahead and broke those as well, and I'll be planting them. Like, this one is huge. And so this is the elephant garlic. Some of the elephant garlic I had from last year, but they were much smaller. Let's see. So like, yeah, this one I'm not gonna be, that one has mold on it, but this one is one that I grew last year. You can tell the difference. It's much smaller than the elephant garlic that, as well as this one. So the smaller ones are the ones that I grew last year. The bigger ones are the ones that I got in the mail. This has mold on it too. I'm so glad I'm looking at those. We won't plant those, but elephant garlic is actually in the leek family. It's not actually considered a garlic, but it does have a garlic flavor. This will only be my second year growing elephant garlic. Last year was my first year growing elephant garlic. Seed garlic is really expensive, and so I went ahead and invested in getting my elephant garlic this year and paying the price for them. Um, and then next year I hope to save some of my own garlic cloves for elephant garlic to be able to plant more and more each year as I save more seed. But this year I just went ahead and got a pound of elephant garlic. I also waited until they had a garlic sale. So once everyone ordered their garlic and then they were overstocked of any garlic, I went ahead and bought some more. But I did at first just go ahead and get my pound, and then I think I ended up ordering two more cloves when they went, two more heads of garlic once they went on sale. I would highly suggest waiting a little later in the season to pick up seed garlic because they do go on sale, but the bad thing about it is that you don't know if they'll have any left over. So it's kind of like hit or miss to see, because they're just basically selling the overstock that they have to get rid of it. And then you might not get the varieties that you want. But that is what I did with some of the varieties, especially my hardneck. I have two varieties in there that I just specifically got once they went on sale. I didn't originally order any hardneck varieties, but I did want some hardneck varieties because that is the garlic that produces the scapes, and softneck varieties, you can braid it, but it doesn't produce the scape, which is the seed stalk coming up, and you can like use it and saute it and all that good stuff. I do have some tags here and my garden marker, and I'm going to write out each variety because I'm not going to plant them all in the same spot. I did have some help cleaning out this garden bed. We had tomatoes here, and then it just had got taken over with a bunch of weeds, but now it is cleaned out. I bought out my bone meal because that is grows. It's really good for growing bulbs. As you can see, there's a flower bulb, like a tulip on here, because the 15, this is the nitrogen and this is the phosphorus, which grows really good roots, which is what you want for like things like your onions and potatoes, onions and stuff like that. This year I am a little late at getting my garlic in the ground. Today is the 22nd and I'm just now getting my garlic in the ground, where last year I planted my garlic November 11th, 10th and 11th, and we didn't have our first freeze until November 23rd, where we have already had our first freeze last weekend. So probably 4 days ago we had our first freeze, which isn't that much earlier, but then we also had 2 nights on maybe a month ago where it got down to 36, and it did kill lots of people's crops as well. If you are like me and haven't got your garlic in the ground yet, I would say go ahead and get it in the ground. If you don't grow any, then you won't get any, but if you try, you may still come up with a crop. And you definitely want to know where you're placing it because it is a long growing crop, and so that means it will be in the ground until about June or July when it's ready to harvest. And so you definitely want to have some forethought on where you're placing this before you plant it in the ground. So this bed is about 16, 17 feet long. I did leave a little space at the end of here and a little space down at the end here. So it's probably about 7 feet, 17 feet long and 3 feet wide. I use logs, and so I just is an estimate. It does get slimmer towards this end than it does at this end, but I did use my seating square to go ahead and lay down the squares, as you can see right there, and I am planting 9 bulbs or 9 cloves per square foot. How far you plant your garlic cloves apart, it really depends on how far you want the spacing. So if I do 9 in a square foot, that's about placing them about 3 to 4 inches apart. If I did 4 in a square foot, that would be closer to 6 inches. And so it really just depends on how far. I got distracted by the cat trying to eat the bag of bones. Hey, no. So like I was saying, it really just depends on how far you want your garlic cloves to be together. The cat is coming back. The garlic I have planted here is all of the soft neck variety garlic, and so I don't mind them being only 4 inches apart. But when I go to plant my elephant garlic, I will only put 4 in a square foot to give it about 6 inches of growing space. So this is already 144 garlic cloves, and I still have some bags, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then my elephant garlic. So like I said, this is where my tomatoes are going to be. Some of them are going to be next year, and so I did go ahead and plant the garlic in front of them. Last year I planted tomatoes on this side, but I think next year I'm going to plant them on this side because there is kind of like a slope, and so I feel like watering this bed was really difficult last year. I did try to even it out so it wasn't so much of a grade, because I did feel like watering the tomatoes on this side was a little harder to do. So next year I'm going to plant them on this side, which is why I'm not going to do another row of garlic going down. I did that with all of my beds that I had tomatoes. So on this one as well, I planted the tomatoes as well as the marigolds on this side, but I think I will actually go ahead and plant a row of garlic down this side, and then next year plant my tomatoes on this side of the trellis. So I went ahead and enlisted the help of my daughters. Hi! And they went ahead and planted this row, and now I put garlic here. I didn't put it in here because this is an ant pile, so we're not going to mess with that, but they're going to go ahead and start planting in the garlic here. And I went ahead and started putting garlic here. I didn't remember to put the bone meal before I laid it down, and so I laid it down on top, and we'll just rub it in as we plant. But this is most of the elephant garlic, and then I had some spots down here where I planted 2 other varieties of garlic. This in-ground space right here, I built it to be 2 feet wide, but I'm not going to plant it using the square foot gardening method. I'm just planting a single row of garlic going down. Then I have these 3 varieties of garlic. That one fell, that I'm working on weeding this bed, and then I'll plant the last 3 varieties of garlic here. So that will be all of my garlic planted, and it will all be planted in front of tomatoes. So I'll see if that has any difference next year with keeping any pest off of my tomatoes. So this was actually the perfect amount of space to plant all of my tomatoes in front of these tomato trellises. I did on this one, did not use the seeding square. I just placed 2 every 4 inches about. I didn't measure anything. I just kind of looked and spaced them out, but it seemed to be the perfect amount of space to run 16 feet along that trellis of garlic. So my daughters just went ahead and pulled these 3 carrots. I wasn't expecting them to be that big. I thought they were going to be small. They were in this bed, which Shania planted some carrots, and not a lot of them germinated, but those 3 did, and they're actually a really good size.
They're like the size of your hand.
They are. And compared to like the tops weren't even that lush, and we only saw this hanging out the ground, so I thought they were going to be much smaller than that. There are some still growing in here, so that's nice to know. So that is completely it. We got all of the garlic planted, which basically begins the gardening season of 2023, which is so exciting because this garlic will not be ready to harvest until mid next year. So it will be in the ground all this time. Look at these flowers. These are paper flowers. I planted them in summer, and this is the first time they're blooming. I would say another surprise is this bed that I planted parsnips all over the place, and this was months and months ago, and now you can see all of these seeds are starting to sprout in this bed. These are old parsnips that I planted. The bigger ones are old parsnips that I planted in spring, at the beginning of spring. There's a little caterpillar there. I planted these at the beginning of spring. We're actually going to go ahead and pull them. And I had a hard time getting parsnips to germinate in the beginning of spring. And then once it cooled off, all of a sudden, these parsnips started to grow. And as you can see, there's a pretty decent size parsnip there, which is amazing. But I have to take note on these parsnips that they actually wanted cold stratification, because that's what it seems like. They've been in here months, and it's been warm weather, and they have not germinated. And then as soon as we got those 2 cold nights, now all of a sudden, and rain, now they sprouted. So that's interesting. Anyway, that's random. That has nothing to do with garlic. Thank you guys for hanging out with me, and I'll see you guys next time.